Hello and welcome everyone. In this video I want to show you the following plugin, Suey, made by one of my friends who is an excellent VST developer. He has already released another plugin which is called Abyss. Is it called Abyss or Abyss? I don't know, Dawesome. And Dawesome is awesome, and you will see why when I show you this kick synthesizer. It's kind of a sampler, but also kind of a synthesizer in some way. It has some very unique abilities. But before going into it, I will show you the beat that I made with this synthesizer. And of course, you should care most about the kick when you listen to this now. Alright, so let's see what this kick consists of. First of all, it is part of a group, and this group has a limiter that is gluing the kick together with the bass line. Because I felt like that is a nice thing in the context of this beat. I will now turn off this limiter so that the sound of the kick and the bass line feels more separated again. So that we can focus on the kick only. Now the kick only also has two plugins on it at the moment. One of them is the clone, which is a distortion effect that was originally meant for electronic guitars, but I like to slap it on everything and just see where it goes. And also Pro MB, which is currently used for sidechain stuff. I think I'm ducking the kick whenever the kick plays together with the snare. Because sometimes they play at the same time, and then I want the snare to be more dominant in that case. But we can ignore that now, because when the kick is played solo, then this is not triggered anyway. But we can turn off the clone. And now we have the pure sound of Suey. And yeah, now I will just turn up the volume. Yeah, and we can hear that it still makes a lot of sense with the rest of the beat. So it's not that my post-processing was groundbreakingly the reason for why it sounded nice. But still, let's just listen to the kick and solo now. So what does this interface tell us? You have a window that shows you your kick, and you can change whether it should be a linear window about your kick, which would mean that the transient actually looks very small. The second one is the zoom, by the way. And click on auto, then it will automatically zoom to a reasonable space, which is pretty cool. Now, if you want to work on the transient, you put skew more around this place, and if you want to work on the tail or body, then you put skew back. That's like the idea of this parameter. And I usually keep it somewhere around here at the end, because I think the transient often just needs way more love. As you can see, this describes what the kick looks like, and it's kind of separated into 3 stages. So it's like a multi-band thing, but it's not multi-banding the frequency spectrum, but actually in the time domain, so that you have the transient part of the kick, the middle part, the body, and the tail. And when I tweak them, which I can do by these handles up here, then you can immediately hear what the difference is. And you've already seen two other features. With left and right drags, I can like set the point, and when I'm dragging up and down, I can set the width of the transition. It's like a crossfade, as you have seen. It's visualized very nicely by the UI, which makes it very clear what's going on, and it's a crossfade. And I was surprised to see that it actually often sounded better to have very narrow crossover thingies rather than very far ones, because then there are these discontinuities in the wave sometimes, which might be offsetting in some way, but it's also like better than without. When the crossover is long, then the potential for weird phase issues is way higher, and that's why it's often more intuitive to just do it like this. Let's also drag this one. Nice, nice. And you can also like drag the last one. Now these sections down here are for the shaping of the individual sections, for everything that you cannot do up here. For example, setting an offset. The offset slider is a little bit more rough. You can slide through the whole kick with it. The phase slider is much more subtle. Then there is also a pitch slider. Obviously, that's just a normal resampler, a good sounding one though. And of course, when you pitch up a transient, then it sounds more energetic, but also kind of thin. And if you pitch it down, it becomes warmer, but also a little bit more sloppy. Same for body and tail, I guess. It also has a bunch of presets to choose from. Like you have a lot of kicks in here. I don't want to go through them because I'm not the type who says, oh yeah, there are so many presets to choose from. That is the main reason why you should buy it. I'm more about like showing the possibilities, and you can already see from the names that they are also of very different type. Like we got some 808 typical thingies, some things designed by I think by a sound designer called Structure Audio, and some that are specifically made for the body but probably can also be used for other types. Distorted ones, saturated ones with noise. Yeah, they are labeled very nicely, even if you think that these are not a lot of kicks. You can also load in your own samples. I want to show you how that works, but while I'm at it, I can also show you another feature, which is that I can drag and drop the kick out of the logo, and then it will automatically be copied into your DAW. And now I can take this kick and put it back into this thing. Oh, actually not with drag and drop apparently, but open file. Yeah, I could do it like this, but therefore I would have to save this. I'll just save it on my desktop. Now going back to the kick. Now I can finally open the file from my desktop. Funnily, that sounds pretty much almost the same as the kick sounded before, obviously because it is the same beginning. And yeah, that is one way to go about this. it sounds a little bit different, because when you click on all these things here, then you can set some sort of little automation for every one of them. And that's a pretty cool feature. For example, it has a little filter in it. You can shape how long you want to have the transient. Let's say we want to be very surgical here and just want to start off with something very simple. Actually, let's go about it the other way around and only start with the end of the sample. Yeah, I have no idea if this kick is cool or not, because when you lose yourself in sound design, you are just going with whatever you feel like. But I really liked what happened when I went through all these settings. This filter, by the way, is designed for really fast modulation, as you can probably guess, because if you were to make such an automation with Pro Q or something, then not even two of these points would actually reach their frequency destination. While this thing, I mean, it's also just an approximation. You can hear that, but it's like way closer to what you're actually drawing, and it gives me a very nice feeling. And that's why I am very proud to say that a friend of mine actually made this superb plugin. Let's also drag and drop this one in here and see how they differ. They are probably very different. Yeah, I can already see that they are very different, but let's also hear them in comparison. Oh, very nice. Now I'm actually curious what my new kick sounds like in the context of the mix. plugin, and I feel like it actually makes a lot of sense, and it might even be better than the other kick that I had before, but it's hard to compare now because this plugin has no A/B mode or anything like it. Oh, I should have used the A/B setting from Cubase, but I kind of didn't think of it. But anyway, this is very cool, a very cool tool for sound designers. And yeah, it also, just in case that anyone wonders, it has a lot of presets, and the presets are a nice starting point for your own patches. I do have to admit that this is true, but yeah, I think the real fun in this plugin starts when you are tweaking the stuff, especially with these curves and stuff. I have seen in the other videos of people using this plugin that they are often not very careful about checking out this feature with this curve. They are more interested in this whole splitting the samples thing, but this curve thing is actually what I like a lot, because that's where you can really make the things fit together after you have more or less found samples that kind of do the right thing, and then your sample is basically done, and you can use the drag and drop feature to shape them further as audio files, because a lot of people like to do that. Or you can just, like me, keep it in this plugin and apply effects on the output. Kick synthesizers are a thing. There are a lot of kick synthesizers, and I've just not seen an approach like this before. So yeah, this is Chop Suey from Dawesome, and I think it's super cool.